Alright, for question number 30, it says in the diagram the figure is reflected in line K. The image is then reflected in line M. Describe a single transformation that maps F to F double prime. Alright, on these, because there is that one rotation, or reflection, excuse me, that's 58 degrees. Anytime I do a double reflection like this, all I have to do basically is take that 58 degrees or whatever degrees it is and multiply by 2. I just double it, and that comes out to be 116 degrees. So that is a rotation about 116 degrees from point P. Okay, so I just take my reflection degrees and I double that to get my rotation degree. For number 31, it's saying an image is dilated with the center of origin at a scale factor of -1/2. Which point is a vertex of the pre-image of triangle RST for this dilation? Alright, for this one I need to look at the coordinates. Pre-image is the original where I started at. Image is where I ended up at. So this is the ending after I did the scale factor of 1/2. So I know that I'm shrinking it. So I want to take my coordinates. Let's just do R. That's at 2. R is at 2, 2. S is going to be at 4, 2. And T is at 2, 4. Okay. And after a reflection, or excuse me, not a reflection, a dilation of -1/2, these are the points that I got. So what I'm asking you to do on this kind of a question is you're supposed to be working backwards to get the original points. All right, so I'm going to take these points and I want to multiply them by a -1/2. So if I got -2 times a -1/2, that gives me a +1. And if I take -1/2 times a -1 times a -1/2, that gives me a +1/2. All right, so that's none of these points here, so I know A's out. If I take the -4 times a -1/2, that gives me a +2. And then if I take the -8 times a -1/2, that gives me a +4. And I do have 2, 4 here, so looks like B is what gives me point T. All right, if I take the scale factor and I multiply the coordinates by a -1/2, I get 2, 4. Question number 32 says, determine whether the polygons with the given vertices are similar. Use transformations to explain your reasoning. All right, on this one, because of where I graphed these, since I'm going to look at this horizontal line because that's going to give me the scale factor. I know obviously that these are getting smaller. I'm going from ABC to DEF, so I know I'm dilating it. I just have to figure out how long. So from 9 to 12, that length is 3. And then if I go from 1 to 2, that length is 1. Alright, so I know my scale factor. In order to find the scale factor, I have to take the image, which is 1, over the pre-image, which is 3. So that's my scale factor. So I know I'm shrinking it. And then I have to count my what's happening, because it looks like I'm still in the same orientation. This length is 3 units. This length is 1 unit. And then I have to figure out how I'm moving across the X and Y coordinate plane. So if I look at this and I use my scale factor, I shrink that. If I take 1/3 of 6, it's going to give me 2, 0. 1/3 of 9, 6 is going to give me 3, 2. And then if I divide 12 divided by 3, that's 4, 2. And so if I'm looking at going from 2, 0 to 0, 3, I'm taking this. I'm going from 2, 0, and I'm going over 2 and up 1. So this is a determine whether polygons with the given vertices are similar. So yes, polygons are similar. And I did a dilation with a scale factor of 1/3 followed by a translation. Let's see, I'm going from 2 to 0, so that's translation 2 units left and 3 units up. Okay, so that's how I figured that out. For number 33, I want the measure of angle W. I have an exterior angle, so I know that 2x plus 3x minus 24 is equal to 4x plus 11. Combine like terms, get 5x minus 24 is equal to 4x plus 11. Moving things around, subtracting my 4x gives me x minus 24 is equal to 11. If I add 24, that's going to give me 35. Okay, and then that's the value of my x. What I want to do is I want to then take, that's not the value of angle W, so I need to take this 35 and I'm going to substitute that in. So I need 3 times 35 minus 24, and that equals 81. So the correct answer for 33 is 81 degrees. Remember to make sure that you're solving for the right thing. Number 34 is telling me that the triangles are congruent, and I want to find the measure of angle U and the length of UV. All right, so that tells me, this given statement tells me that angle U is congruent to angle W. So that's 9x minus 6 is equal to 7x plus 22. That tells me that 2x is equal to 28, which means x is equal to 14. I need to substitute that in. 9 times 14 minus 6. I put that in the calculator. That tells me that this is 120. So I know that the measure of angle U is equal to 120 degrees. All right, and then to solve for the length of UV, I'm going to do the same thing. Number 35 says, what additional information will prove that triangle ABE is congruent to triangle CDE by side angle side? All right, I have a pair of sides that's given to me, and I have 2 vertical angles here. So if I want to go side angle, that means I need to know this side, which would be AE congruent to CE. Okay. The other way that you could look at it, because you know these 2 angles B and D are 90 degrees, you could get this length AB be congruent to length DC. That would be another way. So this one actually has 2 answers to get side angle side. Number 36, it says, what's the value of x in the figure? If I look, I know these 2 sides are congruent. These are vertical angles. So that tells me then that x is going to be equal to, looks like I have x is going to be equal to the difference between these 2 angles from 180. Because of the tick marks, I know these 2 sides, these 2 angles, base angles are the same. Because these are vertical angles, I know they're the same. And I have these double tick marks here. So that tells me if this angle right here is 57, this angle is 57. So if I take 57 plus 57, I get 114. 180 minus 114 is going to give me 66. So I know this angle is 66. That's 66 and 66. So if I take 66 plus 66, that gives me 132. 180 minus 132 is going to give me 58. So that tells me that x is equal to 58 degrees.